I'm already hearing people say, well, we need to go to 14. We need to go to 16. Let's get 1 year of the 12 teams in, which I'm a big fan of the 12 team playoff. Let's get 1 year before we start wanting to expand it even further.
Well, that being said, after doing my travels and media days over the summer, I am just based on what I've heard and people say, I am convinced this thing is going to go to 16 and 26.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point.
Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Dooley Dome Studios here at the house where we, like I said, Monday, we survived everything. Had a few limbs down. Hopefully the guys take them. But not too much going on there with that. But I did, one good thing was Monday, because we didn't do a radio show because, well, Jeff was gone and school was closed because of the passing hurricane. I really went after going ahead and getting guests, for the whole month. So I've got them all lined up for every Thursday. Of course, Coach Spurrier will be in there most Mondays. As far as I know, he's going to be in there for all Mondays, but something always comes up. He's got to go somewhere. If he can't, then we'll get somebody else. But anyway, my point is today, Dennis Dodd's going to join us from CBS Sports. Always great talking to Dennis. He knows the inner workings of college football, and he can explain the revenue sharing stuff to me, I'm sure. On next Thursday, it'll be Brent Zwerneman from who does national football writer as well. We'll have him on the show. Then on in 2 weeks, we'll have Wayne Peace is going to join us. I am looking forward to that. Had a long talk with Wayne. Talked to him about, a couple of years ago, his wife passed away. That was really tough deal there for him. And but he's moving on, and he's actually living in two different places. I'm trying to remember where the second one is. One of them is Tampa, and the other one he's building a house somewhere. Anyway, we'll have him on, and then at the end of August, Drew Copeland's going to join us. He and I are going to draft. We're going to have another competition. We're going to draft our playoff teams going into the season. So that'll be fun too. We always have a good time with Drew. So we got a lot going on coming up, and we have a lot going on today. Again, Dennis Dodd will join us in a little bit. But first, let us get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five. Brought to you by the Gainesville Quarterback Club. You should be starting to go be a member if you're not already. And in fact, they have unbelievable speakers this year. I'm, of course, introducing them all, or most of them. But I know Nat Moore's speaking the first one. Dan Mullen speaking. Jimbo Fisher. I know they're in negotiations with Jesse Palmer. So if that would be great. My wife's already said she'll be there. She's supposed to be teaching, so I have to call class early, I guess. But yeah. So yeah, they've got an unbelievable group of people coming to speak, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Dari Noka's, I know, down to speak. We've already had Coach Napier and obviously Chris Doring and Peter Burns came in to do a thing. It's really good fellowship, good opportunity for you. So Gainesville Quarterback Club, smart to be a member. That's all I'll say about that. And there's a lot of quarterback clubs, or a lot of Gator clubs around town. Quarterback club. I'm speaking to all three of them this year. So that'll be cool. In fact, I've got one coming up next week. It's starting talking season. My talking season starts in August. Talking season usually starts right up till camp starts for the coaches. All right, let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five. The number one story, as far as I'm concerned, is Jim Harbaugh getting a show cause. Now, my first reaction to that, 4-year show cause, means if somebody wants to hire him as their head coach, you've got to show why he should be your head coach and why you think it's okay. And you've got a guy who's shown no contrition, who has said, I didn't do anything wrong. And he's fighting it and not everything. Okay, well, my first reaction though was, hey, what it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger that Bill Hader does this great bit where Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these bugs are coming in, they're on the set for collateral damage, and Schwarzenegger's sitting there, he's got his shirt off, he's going, you know, that's what it is. That's what I'm sure Harbaugh is looking at this. Now, that said, it's not out of the realm of possibility that after 2 years, the San Diego Chargers, or LA Chargers, as they're sometimes known, would say, hey, you know what? This isn't working. We thought you were going to be okay as a college coach coming in. We got money to burn. We're going to let you go. We're going to pay your buyout. And then Harbaugh wants to come back to college. Can't. So I guess there is something to it. It's not completely without, without penalty. It's not a big penalty though. And Harbaugh certainly skedaddled as soon as he was able to win a national championship with Michigan and got out of there because he knew that sanctions were coming. He's lied about things. He's, just I just don't like him. I never have, but anyway, he's got a 4-year show cause. We'll see what happens with the current coach, Coach Moore, who is, he's got other issues for deleting texts. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know where that's going to go, whether he'll get suspended again. Michigan's probably going, hey, look, we played good without a coach. We won a national championship without a coach for 3 games. And then at the end, what was it? Was it 3 games again at the end? I'm trying to remember. I know he didn't coach the Ohio State game, and they easily won that game. So he probably didn't care, or they don't care. They don't seem to be caring very much, to be honest with you. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is the injury suffered by C.J. Baxter, who tore ligaments in his knee, the running back from Texas. And Texas, of course, when you first hear that, you go, Texas? Why do I worry about Texas? Oh, that's right, Florida's playing them. Oh, that's right, they're in our conference now. Oh, yeah. And I think they have a chance to win the national title. However, this injury certainly is a setback. Now, they have players behind him. That kid, Blue, Jaden Blue, I think it is. It wasn't going to share carries with him, but he was going to be their feature back going into the year. But he's out for the year with a knee injury. And you're seeing, there seems to be a lot of it going around, but I sometimes I just think it comes back to maybe players, as much work as they do in the offseason, maybe they aren't doing the right work and building up. I don't know if you can build the muscle of the ACL and the MCL, but I don't know. I don't know the answer because I don't know enough about it. But, man, it just seems like a lot of guys are having non-contact injuries that are costing them major time. So it's a big injury for the team that I consider the number 1 team in the country. Now, saying that, I told you before, mine's going to change, and I think it may already be like I'm ready to kind of change it already, and I'll get to that in a little bit with the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. I got something I want to talk about there, but I don't know. I'm still kind of wavering on who my picks are going to be when I get to do that with Drew later in the year. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is the SEC is considering injury reports, which the Big Ten has already done. And I think it's a good idea because the main reason to have injury reports and the main reason the NFL does it is because you want to have it so that it dissuades inside information with gamblers. And especially now that you're getting gambling sites shoved down your throat every 5 minutes of the day. You sit there and you go, well, maybe I will go ahead and bet, even though I learned my lesson many, many years ago. I lost 50 whole dollars, but that I learned my lesson. I don't gamble anymore. I go to Vegas. I may bet 20 total bucks. That's why I'm not a big Vegas fan, because if you go and you gamble and you bet, that it's great. But if you don't, it's just crowded. It is nice. I did like going to Vegas. with my family. But anyway, the gambling stuff is being shoved down your throat all the time. You're watching the Olympics, and they keep showing these Hard Rock commercials, over and over again, and how this is the where to go. I'm watching the golf the other day, and all of a sudden they go, "Hey, on this hole, you can bet right now who's going to get it close to the pin of these three guys." And I'm like, I think I know who is going to get it closer to the pin. Of course, if I bet, I'll lose, and then I'll be mad. Or if I win, I'll want to bet more. This is how they get you in. This is how they suck you in. Don't fall for it, guys and girls, ladies, kids. I know at one point my daughter was like, "Hey, I want to get in a fantasy football team." I go, "Okay, how much is it?" She goes, "I don't know." And I go, "Well, you better find out how much it is." And that technically is gambling. Anyway, although don't tell Bill Arnsberger it is. That's an inside story. All right, let's get to number 4 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is that our track team is killing it. Thank you very much. They have made the Olympics a lot more fun to watch. And of course, the United States is way ahead in the medal count, 94 medals total. And a lot of it is because of what they've done in track, but some of the obscure sports, I don't think they got one in rock climbing. That was the one sport that was a first for me, watching rock climbing. I did watch that the other day. But we're getting ready for it to get really interesting, because of course Grant Holloway runs later today. Now, if you're listening to this on Friday, he already ran. You already know what the result. So we can't make that a quick picks. I should have made that the quick picks Monday, but we already have the game tonight. But we'll give you the quick picks in just a little bit. But congratulations to all of our medalists and all of our people out there who are doing such great stuff at the Olympics, and they're doing a great job of broadcasting it. They're doing a great job of running it. It's really been pretty amazing. So congratulations to everybody. But let's get to number 5 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, which is that Florida's basketball non-conference is set. And again, it's very similar to what they've done. Todd Golden believes in non-conference games at neutral sites, so there's a lot of them. Arizona State was added up in Atlanta, so it's like they did before. I mean, Florida got in because of their schedule last year, and I think they'll do it again because these neutral site games mean more. They just mean more. I mean, you can get a neutral site win, and you don't have to worry about what that team does the rest of the year. Although somebody that they played and beat may have been FSU, but that wasn't neutral site. But you got to go to FSU, so that's actually better for your Q rating or whatever it is. Or now it's not RPI, net ranking. Yeah, better for your net ranking. Quad 1 wins, stuff like that. So it's all out, and I think it's exactly what I thought it would be. A lot of good teams, a lot of named teams on there. Be fun to watch this team and how they mesh together during the non-conference schedule. All right, that's going to do it for our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. We'll take a break, and when we come back, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, is going to join us. Look forward to talking to him. He knows his college football. We'll be right back after this break on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people. Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. A great pleasure to bring in an old friend. Not that he's old, I'm the one who's old, but I've known him a long time. Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports does a great job covering college football, and college football especially has been crazy lately. Dennis, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, what do they say at the Patriots? No off days. It's been since about 21, the summer of 21. There's been no off season with realignment and such. So it's almost like the season's sneaking up from behind. So have to be ready to go, ready or not.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. It does feel like we can't wait for the season even more, because then we can maybe push all this other stuff aside. We don't have to talk about the $2.8 billion payouts or anything like that. But maybe you can explain those to me, because I didn't realize there was an actual formula they'll be able to start looking at like in October that'll tell them how much they're going to get based on how many starts they had and stuff like that.
Yeah, if it's approved, and it looks like we're talking about the House settlement, it looks like it's going to be approved. The question for revenue, well, let's back up. It was money owed to athletes, football, basketball, women's basketball from 2016 to I think 2023, or right up to date. And I think that figure is anywhere from an average of 91,000 to 135,000. So those are what they are. I think going forward, it's the biggest question. You're going to have the revenue share, which on average for Power 4 school is going to be $23 million to distribute to athletes. And this is going to be decided on a school by school basis. Do you do it per position? Do you just do it half to men, half to women? Do you do it to position groups? What if a quarterback, quote unquote, holds out and wants more? We're getting to that stage. I mean, we're right at the edge of collective bargaining. And outside of all that is the fact that they're all going to have to adhere to Title IX. That's up to the schools themselves. They're going to have to figure that out. Anecdotally, I have heard there are several lawsuits ready to go if the school, school by school basis, if certain parties aren't satisfied. So we're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, that is going to be crazy. I saw today yesterday actually, where the SEC is now considering and planning on doing injury reports, and the Big Ten has already started doing that. And the thing that I took away from it was the SEC and the Big Ten. It's basically their world. And if they're going to do injury reports, you might as well start doing them too, because eventually, if you want to jump into their conference, or part of the Big 60, if we end up being that, you better be doing the same thing. You better be in line with them.
Yeah, that's true. Those 34 teams, in the combined 34 teams, operate as a unit in some ways. In some ways, not. It's still a huge rivalry between ESPN and Fox on those media deals to see who does better at these top two conferences. But the injury report thing was inevitable, because they've been preached to for years, since the Supreme Court allowed state by state sports gambling, and I think 2018, I want to say. So it's been 6 years. And every one of these conferences have a consultant named Matt Holt. He works he has a company called U.S. Integrity in Las Vegas, and he's been preaching to them, if you don't do it, you're just waiting for a scandal, because if nothing else, injury reports make it a level playing field for bettors. Instead of them knowing something in a back room and adjusting a line at the last minute, at least it's out there. That's why NFL games are so popular. One reason is that the worst game will get a lot of action because it's the NFL. And I think this will help college football. It's not a big deal in that what the Big Ten did last year is, I think it was 2 hours before a game, they would say available, unavailable. And that's probably what the Big Ten is going to be. I haven't seen any details on what they're going to be. And then the other conferences will fall in line quickly, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about football. And of course, we're about to come up on our first year of the 12-team expansion. And already I'm already hearing people say, well, you need to go to 14. We need to go to 16. Let's get 1 year of the 12 teams in, which I'm a big fan of the 12-team playoff. Let's get 1 year before we start wanting to expand it even further.
Well, that being said, after doing my travels and media days over the summer, I am just based on what I've heard and people say, I am convinced this thing is going to go to 16 and 26. You hear these rumblings from the SEC and the Big Ten about, oh, we're 9-3. Absolutely, they ought to get in. There's going to come a time really quick, probably this year, when something like that happens, when a 10-2 team is left out because, I don't know, an 11-1 runner-up Arizona in the Big Ten. Well, they're going to freak out. I'm talking about the SEC. And that's going to start the ball rolling we need to get all our teams in because we're the stakeholders. And they're not going to stop at 14 because the structure is already there. The format's already there. They're playing one game on December 20th. The first playoff game is December 20th, and 3 on Saturday, December 21st. All you have to do is play 2 more on Friday, maybe put one Thursday night, and you're there with 16. So I would tell people right now to bank that in 2026, we're going to have 16.
Wow. Well, and that will be another good reason for the SEC to go ahead and go to 9 games in the conference, because, hey, look, you can go 9-3 and still get in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the exact opposite. I think what's going on, if that happens, the SEC will say it without saying it. Let us play 8. We're not going to make you pay for 9. Take that money and put it towards the playoff, because there's going to be some wrangling there. Because ESPN is going to have to pay more. So I think that. Look, the SEC is not going to get screwed. In a 12 team and a 16 team, they don't need to play 9. They've proven over whatever it is, 26 years since we've had the BCS start in 1998 that 8 is the way to go. They've been rewarded at every turn. Florida State wasn't. That's another discussion. But the SEC has never been left out. Maybe Georgia last year, hard to make that argument, but they did not win their conference. So playing 8, I think, has rewarded the SEC all these years.
Do you think when we get now, the committee's got still, they really don't have more work. They were already slotting those bowl games anyway, with the teams that were most deserving in conference champions. But do you think that it goes committee to committee about how they look at things differently, or do you think everybody kind of goes in and has the same rules and applies them the same way?
I'm not in there. I don't know. I mean, you had probably the biggest breach of protocol last year when you had, I think, at least 2. One of them talked to me. I had a source within the selection committee tell me they didn't, he or that person didn't support Florida State going in because they didn't think that they could win without their starting quarterback. Well, that shouldn't be a consideration. Now, injury should be a consideration. But we'd already seen Florida State with their backup quarterback. They weren't going to play their third string quarterback like they did in the bowl game.
Yeah.
They were going to play the backup, and that guy was more. I think that was Rodemaker. Am I right?
Yeah.
Was more than capable of representing Florida State at the time, 13-0. And I thought when I told that to Bill Hancock, the former executive director of the BCS, I was in Las Vegas and told him I had this person saying this. He just winced, because he knew it was wrong. It was a bad way to apply things. And I'll go to my grave campaigning for Florida State last year. So, yeah, I guess it's committee for committee. They don't want Pat, they don't want you to know what, things they have to adhere to. I think I talked to the new executive director, Richard Clark, and they don't want a set of things standards written down that you have to adhere to. It's it's going to be whatever that committee wants. It's going to be easier now with 12, obviously. I think the biggest blowback you're going to see is on seating, or schools that have to host first round games, and the 4 teams that get a bye. Well, we'll never host a first round game. I think you'll see more around that than you will who got in and who didn't. Brian Kelly had a good point at SEC Media Days. He said, you don't want to be third, you want to be 11th. You don't want to be 12th, because in any given year, that's going to go to that group of 5 champion. And he's right. Let's say that's Boise State this year, or App State. That its rating in the CFP is probably going to be 12. So you want to be 11. You certainly don't want to be 13. And he said we would have been 13th last year and been left out.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's funny because when you think about all the coaches that Florida's gone through, and most of them would have been in the playoffs. I mean, Mullen would have been in three of the 4 years, but he got fired. McElwain would have been in twice. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it just, the mixes weren't right, and we'll see if it works for Billy Napier. Let's talk a little bit about Florida, and I mean, I really don't know what they're going to look like. I think there are a lot of X factor teams in this country this year. And Florida is certainly one of those. I mean, I think they could go anywhere between 4-8 and 9-3. I think either one would be. I wouldn't be surprised with either one of them.
Yeah, I tend to go towards the 4-8. Not that they will, but not 8-4 or 9-3, simply because the schedule that we all know about. I've been doing some research on this. I talked to a guy yesterday who does this. I doubt if this has ever happened had this happened to a team. Florida will play 8 top 20 teams, not ranked, top 20 teams in the preseason coaches poll. I don't know if that's ever happened. I think the SEC, the other thing, every team in the SEC, all 16 teams have a top 15 team on their schedule, but that's not answering the question. The question is Florida, with not the hardest schedule in the country, one of the hardest schedules ever, and how they react to that. Now, look, I think Trevor Etienne's a huge loss. Their quarterback gets another year. I think he can be pretty good if they accept him for what he is. He's not going to run out of the pocket and do a Jaden Daniels thing, but he's going to be really good, Graham Mertz. So, that way. But just having to play Georgia and all these teams, and especially down the stretches, is going to be really tough. And any team, I always look at November 1st. There are teams out there. I always look around that you see them on TV that they're just so tired that they're just tired of playing football. Doesn't mean they're not going to win. Doesn't they're going to mean they're going to give max effort, but there's not much left in the tank sometimes by November 1st. I just wonder about that for Florida.
Yeah, and that's I said this the other day, and I was talking about this earlier on the show with CJ Baxter going down for Texas. Your depth is only as good as your injuries, because if you get certain key injuries, you may find out you don't have depth. You thought you did, and you really don't, because the backup's in there playing, and it's a problem. And I don't think it's a big problem for Texas in their case, but that's what we'll find out about this Florida team. They're happy with their depth finally. They feel like they've got a roster. They feel like they've got everything in place. Show it on the field, and it starts with first game against Miami.
I don't want to say that first game is a loser leave town match, because it's just going to put more pressure on whoever loses. But Mario Cristobal has a lot to prove in year 3. I think he absolutely has to win it. Florida absolutely has to. I haven't even seen who's favored. Who's favored?
Miami's favored. They opened as a 6-point favorite. It went down to 2.
Okay.
Now it's back to 2.5. And I talked about this on the radio. I said, you can make an argument this game's bigger for Miami.
No question. Yeah.
Because if they win this game, they really don't have much left. It's a pretty soft schedule.
Yeah, not that they're going to fire Mario Cristobal 3 years into an $80 million contract, but that makes things really uncomfortable for everybody involved. Mario, John Ruiz, the guy who fronted the money, or a lot of it, the big booster at Miami, Kirk Herbstreit coming out last year and saying, I think what we all thought that they need some sort of on-campus stadium or something, or, some sort of atmosphere there that goes with big-time college football. They've lost that going out to Hard Rock. It just is a 45-minute drive from campus. So there is a lot riding on that first game. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely there is. All right. Appreciate Dennis being on. It's time for us to play Yes, No Way, or Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. And of course, he is also appearing on our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom call, line call, whatever you want to call it. So let's get to Yes, No Way, or Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills. And of course, if you go there and say you watched or listened to this podcast, free fries with your order. Number one, for Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports. The SEC will have the Heisman Trophy winner this year.
Ooh, that's a good one. I just wrote this down in my column for today, and I'm trying to remember who I picked. No, I'll say no, because I picked Dylan Gabriel at Oregon, who has an outside shot of becoming, third team, sixth year, whatever. Outside shot of becoming the all-time leading career passer in NCAA history. That's how broad of a career he's had. And I think he'll find a new level at Oregon, who I think will be a surprise. But we'll push Ohio State in the Big Ten. Let's say that.
Yeah, I tell you, that's a hard, I was talking about how hard it is to come up with who's going to be the number 12, 13, and 14 in the SEC. But
yeah,
when you look at the top of the Big Ten, man, I think Ohio State's going to be special this year, but
I do too.
A lot of it depends on their quarterback, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't think I was just there last week. Having seen them and talked to them, I don't think Will Howard has to be great. They are so loaded at other positions. Arguably best running back room in the country, and we know about Quinton Judkins. Caleb Downs, freshman All-American, tip of the spear of that portal class. Maybe the best defense in the country. So if Will Howard doesn't spit the bit and turn it over a bunch, I think they're fine.
Remember when we used to be able to say it's the best team money could buy, and that was considered an insult?
Right. Now it's a competition.
That's right. We have the best team money can buy, man. I'm telling you, we're really good. Okay.
Now it's real, and it's a competition.
It's number two on Yes, No Way, or Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Texas and Georgia will play for the SEC championship.
I think that's true. Even with the injury to CJ Baxter, I think we're going to see Quinn Ewers take another go up another level. I think the defense is better because Sarkisian has taken these last 3 years since the move became obvious to build up both lines. He gets it. Not that Texas didn't have good lines, but you have to be able to compete. We know that's a line of scrimmage league. And Georgia's ahead of everybody else. I think those two will play in the championship game, and that'll be a blast.
Yeah, I think the one issue for Georgia is they finally are playing a brutal schedule. I mean, they've got to go to Alabama, go to Ole Miss, and go to Texas. So people used to get mad at Georgia because they never seemed to have to play anybody, and they still haven't been to College Station.
Right.
In their life. So, but anyway, they got a tough schedule this year. That's the one thing that kind of stands in their way. All right. Finally, on Yes, No Way, or Maybe with Dennis Dodd, we need football in the Olympics. I'm going to give it a
clear maybe, because I'm all over this. In 2028, they're adding flag football. It's an emerging sport in the NCAA for women. And I think this is, it's fun as hell to watch. We all played it growing up, so we can relate. And I think this is going to be a huge thing as an equalizer in Title IX. If you're the NCAA, you can make these squads as much as you want. You want to have 50 players on a team? Go ahead and 50 players. It addresses Title IX. It's going to cost nothing. It's going to cost nothing. So yeah, it's coming to the Olympics. So I'll go right in the middle. I don't know if padded football we're ready for that, because it's a recovery sport and you're going to have to play, the Olympics only last 2 weeks. So I don't know about that, but yes, certainly flag football.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dennis. Appreciate your time, man, as always.
All right, Patty. Thanks.
We'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Appreciate Dennis Dodd coming on. Good friend, known him for a long time, and really knows his college football, man. He loves talking about it too. And he was asking me, but when we were just chatting before we started, what I think about Florida, and I told him, I said, man, I have no idea. If I knew, I'd be in Vegas. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'd be gambling. I'd be back to gambling. Now, look, and I will say the story that I was going to tell is not much of a story. I bet $50 on a baseball game, and I had done it a couple of times to a bookie, and Jerry Royster let the ball go through his legs and lost the game. It was at LA. And I never forgiven him for that. Although he ended up having a good year, and I think they won the division that year. Anyway, and I lost $50, which I couldn't afford $50 back then. And that cured me for life. I never really, I get in these little pools and stuff every once in a while, but that's about it. Anyway. All right, let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, brought to you, of course, by Hesser and Kipke. Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener of this show, you know who we are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920, 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. We appreciate them, as always. And we'll get to our 3 things right here. Let's start off with number 1, which is that FIU is naming their stadium after Pitbull. He's paying about $1.5 million a year for 4 years. He gets access to certain things. He gets the stadium used for 10 days a year. I guess he's going to have concerts there. Probably a win-win. They get $1.5 million. He gets his own parking space, and he cares about it. But that's where we're heading. That's what's going on. The NCAA decided, hey, we're not going to try to stop you guys from making any money any way you want to pay for all this stuff that we're having to charge you for. Because, where do you think that money comes from that the NCAA is paying out on all these, for the $2.8 billion settlement that they have? It's coming from somewhere. The schools are the NCAA, so it's coming from somewhere. So, but anyway, they're letting everybody do it. So you may see now. Florida can't do that. There's no way you can change the name of the stadium. It's Steve Spurrier Field at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, or it's the Swamp. Now, if you wanted to sell it as the Swamp, and sell it to somebody. But I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody who's involved with swamps that would want to buy that. Maybe a somebody that does cleaning, something like that could be a sponsor of the swamp. I'm just spitballing ideas here. Anyway, I don't think it'll happen in Florida, but you could see Publix across the field or Stan's Towing, something like that. If your car won't start, call Stan's Towing. I had a friend that used to do great. Jim, God, I'm blanking on his last name. Impressions. The guy who used to do the verbal. What is my brain's going down? The announcing at the games. Shamu, the biggest killer whale in captivity. All right, let's get to number 2, which is Heather Dinich did a nice piece. It was a good, interesting read about the teams that she thinks are the best possibilities to be first-time playoff teams. Now, there are going to be some. We know that. There are going to be some first-time playoff teams that have never been in the 2-team and never been in the 4-team and never been in the no-team playoff when there wasn't a playoff. But even when it was 2, we all know what that is. But she didn't mention Tennessee in there. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Tennessee was in the playoff. They weren't in the playoff, though, right? So really, the 2-team was not a playoff. It was just taking the 2 best teams. And sometimes you didn't know who the 2 best teams were till the next day. And they would start playing. So this was, but the team, the number 1 team that she had on that list was Penn State. And that would be interesting. Penn State made, and they should make, I think Penn State's going to be pretty good this year. They should make the playoffs. Missouri was 2nd. Tennessee was 3rd, sorry. Ole Miss was 5th on her list. So, and Florida not on there. Nope. I don't think anybody expects Florida to make the playoffs in the national media. I don't expect Florida in the local media. Don't expect Florida to make the playoffs. However, I think there's a possibility of it. It's possible. All right, so that is number 2 on our. Oh, she also had. There was also something that was done by Alex Scarborough in there about the player that's most important to get his team to the playoffs and win a national championship. And number 1 was on that list was Will Howard, the Ohio State quarterback. We were talking about that a little bit ago. Of course, he's a Kansas State transfer, good player, but like Dennis was saying, I don't know that he's going to do that much. All right, let's get to our number 3 thing on our Hesser and Kipke's 3 things, and that is, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there was a big fight that went on again in a camp, and this happens this time of year. It definitely happens this time of year. In this case, so DK Metcalf, former Ole Miss player, takes off his helmet and is going after one of his teammates. It seems like there's more fighting this year than normal in camps. But I will say this, players get tired of hitting the same guys all the time. And so you end up seeing a little bit of this, a little scuffling here and there. But usually they don't take their helmets off and start swinging. They usually save that for the actual game. You know that. And that will be our Mayhem moment. Of course, it's brought to you by Hugh Cain Allstate. We appreciate Hugh Cain Allstate. Local Allstate agent Hugh Cain is proud to support the causes and people who make our community great. When you're ready to get the protection you need and you deserve, call them at 351-5777. I almost botched that. 371-5777. I got to draw a 3 a little bit different there. I didn't draw it very well. So Hugh Cain, that is our Mayhem moment. And there was mayhem going on in that camp. I can tell you that much. Let's get to our Adams Ribco Gator of the week. In this case, there's a lot to choose from because of the Olympics, but I'm going to make it Grace Stark, because that was fun to watch her in the 100-meter hurdles. She qualified for the finals, I think just the semifinals, but that's going to be Friday. So you can get a look at her again. She's a Gator, and I think she just graduated, I believe. But Grace Stark is our Adams Ribco Gator of the weekend, or Gator of the week, and she just did some. It was so much fun to watch her because you just to see her qualify and see the joy on her face. And congratulations to Grace. You are a winner of our great contest. Speaking of contests, let's get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Well, we'll give you a game that's being played Saturday night. It gives you time to get your picks in. Our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick is Kansas City at Jacksonville. Preseason game, exhibition game, whatever you want to call it. Starters won't be playing. Some of them will probably. I haven't even looked to see. I assume Mahomes won't play, and I don't know if Lawrence will. Maybe will. Whoever's playing, you got to figure that out. And also, if you're taking the Jaguars, know that you've got to give away a point to Kansas City. Now, again, the starting team at Kansas City is better than the starting team at Jacksonville. We know that. But for an exhibition game, you never know how it's going to work out. But that is your quick pick. Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Kansas City at Jacksonville. We're about ready to make a poll too. We'll probably make one right before football season, and then once we get to football season, so much fun. We'll give you multiple picks that you'll have to make. So we have a good time with that. Let us move to our swamp games of the weekend. We've got a lot to choose from. We're going to mainly give you the NFL stuff, but there are some other stuff going on. Obviously, you know what's going on with the Olympics. It's on all the time. Holloway runs today at like 3:30, but if you're listening to this on Friday or Saturday, it's too late to watch it. But it's going on all through the weekend. The final ceremonies, I think, are on Sunday. I know that our Katie Ledecky, we're claiming her now, man. She lives here and lives over at Hawkstone. I like her. Is carrying the flag out. She and a guy who won a gold for something. I can't remember what it was. It was not skiing. It was something. Anyway, rowing. He won a gold medal for rowing. So hey, look, I'm not anybody who competes in the Olympics, you deserve what you get. You deserve that tattoo everybody's got on their arms of the Olympic rings. Even the referee at the volleyball match the other night had it. U.S. volleyball match had it on its arms. Anyway, all right, so that's going on all the time. Just turn it on. My thing is to go to the NBC channel first, see what they're doing there, then go to USA, and then you just keep clicking along, and you'll find it on other channels as well. But we do have NFL starting this week. Of course, tonight, Carolina at New England. We talked about that game earlier, 7 o'clock on the NFL Network. All these games are on the NFL Network. So if you don't have it, you're not going to be able to watch preseason games. And, I'm going to watch a lot of them just because I like to watch football, but I can't blame you for not wanting to watch preseason exhibition games. But Friday, Houston at Pittsburgh, and is at 7. That's on the NFL Network. Saturday, Kansas City, Jacksonville is on the NFL Network. That's a 7 o'clock game as well, so you can watch both of those Friday and Saturday. Then Sunday, you have a bunch more games, but no, you have a doubleheader Sunday. Saturday's the day you got a lot of games, and if you've got NFL Network Plus, you can watch them all. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think that's not an app I really need. But Sunday, Denver at Indianapolis. Well, maybe we get to see Anthony Richardson, 1 o'clock, and Dallas at the Rams at 4:30. And then Sunday night, just to wrap it all up, Major League Baseball. Sunday night, their Sunday night game is the Mets at Seattle. Go Mariners. That's on ESPN at 7. So those are our swamp games of the weekend. Of course, I know a lot of you have been over there. It's great to be able to go over to the swamp and have a nice sandwich or something or a meal outside while you're watching the Olympics on a big screen and have a couple of beers maybe with your lunch. Good time. We appreciate the Swamp Restaurant for being a part of this show. Finally, we're going to go to This, That, and the Other. And of course, This, That, and the Other, as always, is brought to you by Ironwood Golf Course, by Dar Shakow Insurance, and by Ballyhoo Restaurant. Another good place to go have lunch. And the other day, they had both 2 Olympic channels on. I was watching both of them over there. My wife and I we were really into it. In fact, we were watching the race where the guy came. No, the race where Bobby Fink won. That's what it was. We were watching that. Even though it was 1,500 meters and we knew who won, we still were into it, So anyway, all right, this, that, and the other is this is that you may not be aware of this and probably aren't, but about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I got off Twitter. I said, I'm off Twitter. I've just been Elon Musk to death. And I didn't even think of it as him being on one side or the other. I guess he is. I don't really follow him, but I was tired of having things sent to me in my Twitter account that were all politics, both sides. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see anything. So I said, I just go on it to look at sports stuff, see what's going on. That's where people break news these days, is on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, but I call it Twitter. So I just said, look, I'm just going to get off of it. It's kind of driving me nuts. And of course, when I did get off of it, people were very upset at me because they assumed I was getting off of it because I'm a Democrat or I'm a Harris supporter or I voted for Biden or anything. Nobody knows what I did. Nobody knows who I voted for. But they attacked me because I used Elon Musk's name in it, but I was just wanted to make sure everybody knew I was just tired of getting all this. I don't like the new Twitter. That was my point. Okay. So that was, I missed it, man. I miss being on Twitter. I love being on, not tweeting stuff out. I don't tweet much out anymore. I used to tweet a lot of stuff out, but I don't anymore. And I think I'm going to do more of it this year because of, I have freer Saturdays, let's put it that way. But I did miss it. I miss going on there and, finding things out and everything. So I went back on. It wasn't hard. It's not hard for me to get back on, obviously. I had to change my password because my old one wasn't working. So I must have changed it some other time. And anyway, so I'm on Twitter now, back on it. And guess what? Now everything I get from Twitter is pointing towards, it's all about the Democrat side. Okay, I didn't ask for that. I didn't say I wanted just one side of it. I don't want either side. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to look at it. But Twitter always wins. They always get you in the end, and then they give you not what you want, but what they want you to have. So I guess they were saying, hey, this guy clearly is a snowflake. Let's give him all the Kamala Harris and God, I'm trying to think of Tim Walz, is that his name? The vice president pick stuff. I don't want that either. Okay, guys. Just sports. That's all I want. Just sports. But the idea is you follow people to get just sports. That's the people you follow, but anyway. You don't want to hear about my Twitter problems or my X problems. It's about to be X'd out. All right. Again, thanks to Dennis Dodd for coming. Don't forget, next week on Thursday we'll have Brent Zwerneman from USA Today, covers college football, and of course Monday Coach Spurrier will be in. Wayne Peace in a couple of weeks. Drew Copeland in 3 weeks. We're gonna have good shows lined up for you. Thanks to Zach for putting up with me and getting this thing done again today. Despite my many faux pas, we got it done, and we appreciate everybody for listening or watching the show. We'll be back with another one on Monday. Till then, I am Pat Dooley, and I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.